تحت الكساء أخذ برسول الله وطرفي الكساء وعمي بيد اليمن إلى السماء وقال اللهم إني هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وعامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن آذاهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماعا مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء خمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة معدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماعا مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فقال تأذن لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى عليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبين إلا نزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم مني إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وفاق سيرتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا حاجة ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضي الله حاجته. فقال علي إذن والله فزنا وسويدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسويدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
اللهم صل Inshallah, we starting in Amal Shabbe Qadar. Inshallah, take 8:45. Starting tomorrow, Qibla inshallah be on a member 6:45 because of time change and for the Roza Aftar. Inshallah, tomorrow starting tomorrow, Qibla be on a member 6:45. Shukriya. Now I'm requesting Qibla for his series of his lecture in this Ramzan. Ba'adubulan Salwat.
Please, before we begin, recite the Surah Fatiha for your madhumeen and for the madhumeen of those that provided tonight's iftar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصينا معه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا إلى شياطينهم قالوا إنا معكم إنما نحن مستهزئون صدق الله العلي العظيم. This verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, it teaches us and it tells us about one of the most dangerous vices that can occur within an individual, and one of those vices is nifaq. Munafiqat, munafiqeen, munafiqat. You have all heard of these verses or these words, and these words, they come from the word nifaq. Nifaq is what? Hypocrisy. What is hypocrisy? When it comes to nifaq, if you read Jahl Hadith from Imam Khomeini, he says that one of the most dangerous vices that happens in an individual is this, and he has treatments. He has the spiritual treatments of how to treat this. What are the dangers of nifaq? If you look at, I'm not going to say this community, I don't know much about the community, but this nifaq, this hypocrisy, it exists everywhere in the world. There is no community that does not have hypocrisy in it. In what sense? Meaning that you'll have either one person, two people be hypocrites. In what sense, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, in what sense can an individual be a hypocrite? Imam Khomeini, he says in Jahl Hadith that look, when it comes to this type of hypocrisy, it has many degrees to it. One degree is that they're hypocrites when it comes to Rasulullah. Another form is that they're hypocrites when it comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Another degree is that they're hypocrites when it comes to Muslimin. Another degree is that they're hypocrites when it comes to the Mu'mineen. Another degree is that they're hypocrites when it comes to the creation or the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning what? Meaning that they say one thing, but they mean or do something completely different. They say one thing and they mean or act completely different to what they say. What is this verse of the Quran saying? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. When those people, when they are with those that believe, they say amanna. They say amanna. When they're with the people that believe, they say amanna. And then it goes on to say, وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. But when they're with their shayateen, or when they go back to their shayateen, what do they say? قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. We are with you. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِرِينَ. That surely we are with you. We were only mocking. We were only mocking. This double-facedness, or this two-tonguedness, this hypocrisy. Who was the first person to be a hypocrite? Or not person, I shouldn't use the word person. The first creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be a hypocrite? Shaitan. Thank you so much. How was he a hypocrite? What did he do and say that we can come to the conclusion that yes, he was truly a hypocrite? Because if you remember, Shaitan, before he became Shaitan, he was known as Iblis. Correct? Iblis, he was taken up to the heavens. Why? Because the narrations, they say that every time he would continue to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 1,000 years. He was raised. 1,000 years, he was raised. 1,000 years, he was raised. Up until he got to the seventh heaven. So that means that Shaitan was worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 7,000 years. When he finally got to that station, when he finally got to that heaven where angels were. If he was continuously being raised, that means that there was no hypocrisy within him that was zahiran at that time. Correct? He was continually being raised. Now, when Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was created, and when he went and he got jealous of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, what did he do and say to Hazrat Adam and Hawa that tells you that yes, he was the very first hypocrite? The first thing, the one thing that he does, he goes to Hazrat Adam, he goes to Hazrat Hawa, he tells them to do what? To eat from the tree, correct? Whether it was wheat, whether it was fruit, whatever it was. He not only does he tell them to eat, that doesn't prove that he's a hypocrite. But what's the first thing he does? He says that, I swear to you that I am, what? Your friend. I swear to you that I'm telling you this out of goodness. I swear to you that I'm telling you this, why? To make you a better person. The first thing Shaitan does is what? He swears. When he swears and he tells them to eat from that tree, he's saying one thing to them. He's telling them that I'm your friend. But inside, what is he hiding? Animosity. What is he hiding? Enmity. And you see that this sifat, if people just understand that this was one of the very first sifats, the very first sifat was jealousy, yes. After that, it was this characteristics that was zahir from Shaitan. If people just keep this in mind, that this was the very first sifat that became zahir after jealousy from Shaitan, then they could start to think, hold on, this sifat that's within me of hypocrisy, this characteristics isn't a characteristic of the angels. This characteristic isn't a characteristic of the prophets. This characteristic isn't a characteristic of the awliya, but this characteristic is a characteristic of Shaitan. If they just think that this is a characteristic of Shaitan and continue to remember that, would they continue to engage in this behavior? No. Why? Because they're constantly reminding themselves of where this characteristic is coming from. When you constantly remind yourself that this characteristic is coming from that entity, that being that has sworn to take mankind out of Sirat al-Mustaqim, then you start to say that, hold on, I don't want this characteristic within me. I don't want this characteristic within me. And you see that this characteristic exists everywhere in society. Friends, they're with you now. Behind your back, they say something else. You consider them to be friends. The first creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that took a false oath, who? Shaitan. And you have so many people, without even giving a thought, I swear to God, I swear to God, without even giving it a thought, I swear to God. Even though what they're swearing God for, they know that they've done that deed. They know that they've done the deed. But what did they swear to God for? Just so they can be clean in the eyes of the person in front of them. Just so they can be clear in the eyes of the person in front of them. They're more worried about the person in front of them than they are about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're more worried about what's going to happen to them in this dunya than they are about what's going to happen to them in akhirah. In akhirah. This is why Imam Khomeini in his Sharh al-Hadith, he gives prescription about how to get rid of this nifaq if it starts entering. He says that there are different degrees of nifaq. There are different levels of nifaq. And if you're not careful and you don't address this problem in the beginning stages, then it becomes difficult for you to address it later on. Just like any disease, we have doctors here. If a disease gets from stage 1 to stage 4, cancer for example, the doctors know it's more difficult to treat cancer at stage 4 than it is at stage 1. These spiritual diseases also, it's easier to treat them at stage 1 than it is at stage 4. So this is why Imam Khomeini says, look, treat these diseases as soon as you see them. Not just as, you have to look for them within yourself first. Look for them within yourself. We're so worried about looking for these diseases in other people and calling them out that we don't look for them within ourselves and call ourselves out. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, if people just worried about themselves, if people just worried about themselves and not worried about others, the society would be better. If people just worried about themselves and not worried about others, the society would be better. Worried in the sense of the bad deeds. If people just prevented themselves from doing the bad deeds, if everyone had this mentality that I should prevent myself from doing an evil deed, a sin, if everyone in the society had this mentality, wouldn't the society thrive? It would naturally thrive. But what's the problem within the society? Everyone wants to find faults in others, but when it comes to their own faults, they're not willing, they're not ready to even speak about it. They're not ready to speak about it. And this is what the Imams, they tell you not to do. The first thing that each and every one of us should do, all of us, including me, including the people that come on this minbar, look at these vices that exist within yourself. Within yourself. If you don't tackle this problem yourself, or if you're not tackling this problem yourself, then how can you tell others to tackle it? Meaning what? Meaning I'm on the minbar. I'm telling everyone to tackle this problem. Correct? If I myself am not tackling this problem, what does that make me? A hypocrite. If I'm telling everyone else to tackle this problem of munafiqat, hypocrisy, and I myself am not tackling within myself, it makes me a hypocrite. Does it not? Yes, it does. Would anyone listen to a hypocrite? No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. This is why it becomes necessary for everyone to look at these vices and tackle them. Because these vices are what takes communities apart. They rip communities apart. Double-tonguedness, double-facedness, hypocrisy. And what does hypocrisy lead to? The narrations, they say that on the day of judgment, a person who was double-tongued, a person who was a hypocrite, a person who was double-faced, how will they appear? It says that they will appear, some narrations they state that this person will appear with two tongues. One would be sticking out from the front, one will be sticking out from the back. And they will come and they'll be tied together. And there will be fire there'll be coming from these tongues. And this fire will continue to engulf the individual. And these people will be known on the day of judgment for being hypocrites. Why? Because of this sign. Because of this sign. 1. 2. Hypocrisy. What does hypocrisy do just in this dunya? It sows discord. It sows hatred. When it comes to hatred, when it comes to discord, when it comes to fitna, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about fitna? Fitna is greater than murder. Fitna is greater than murder. Why? What is fitna doing that it's greater than murder? With murder, that life is gone. But with this type of fitna, it's completely destroying the whole society. It's not just one individual now. It's the whole society. Corrupting the whole society. So with murder, one individual. With fitna, it's not just one person. 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, the whole society. That's why when it comes to these uyub that are in this individual, everyone needs to be careful. Everyone needs to be careful. When it comes to hypocrisy in terms of me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to deal with each one of these. Hypocrisy in regards to me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I say La ilaha illallah. How do we show that we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How do we show it? By praying and bowing our head to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I say La ilaha illallah and I'm not praying, then I'm being a hypocrite. I'm being a hypocrite. When it comes to the prophethood, you say La ilaha illallah, you say Muhammadur Rasulullah. How do you show that you believe in the prophethood of Rasulullah? How do you show that? By following what? His sayings, by following his sunnah, by following his, doing his amal. Correct? When you say Aliyun Waliullah, how are you going to show that yes, you believe in Amir al-Mu'mineen to be Waliullah? By following his sayings, by doing what he said, accepting his wilayah. Just the same way you accept the Holy Prophet's nabuwat. When you say that yes, these people are mu'mineen, I believe them to be mu'mineen, how are you going to show it? By giving them the due right that belongs to them. Just the same way that you're giving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his right by worshipping him. The same way you're giving the Holy Prophet his right by accepting his sayings, by accepting him to be prophet. The same way that you're accepting you're giving Amir al-Mu'minin his right by accepting his wilayah, giving his due right. The same way, what are you going to do with the mu'mineen? You're going to accept them to be mu'mineen and you're going to accept them and give them their rights. You're going to give them their rights. That's the way you're not going to show, or that's the way you're going to show to the mu'mineen that you're not a hypocrite when it comes to them. By giving them their rights. What are their rights? What are their rights? Their right, for example, is when you see that they're going off the course of Wilayat Amir al-Mu'mineen, they're going off the course of Nabuwat of Rasulullah, they're going off the course of Islam. One of their rights is that you guide them. You guide them. But how do you guide them? Do you guide them with a stick? Do you guide them with a shoe? You know, the way that it's done in India, Pakistan? No. You guide them Quran. You guide them Hadith. You guide them with kindness. That's the way you guide them. But a lot of the times when we want to guide others, what do we do? How do we guide them? Oh, look at this person. We try to put them down. We try to shame them within the community. We try to shame them within the community. Which one of the companions the Holy Prophet tried to shame? Was it these types of sins that they committed? No. Was it because they didn't know how to do wuzu properly? No. Was it because they couldn't pronounce the words of the Quran properly? No. But when it comes to us, when it comes to these things, instead of helping the mu'mineen out, we try to shame them. You're 30 and you don't know how to, you don't know how to read the Quran properly yet? What have you been doing? What have your parents taught you? This isn't the sunnah. This isn't the way the Ahlul Bayt live their lives. This isn't the way that you and I should live our life. If you want to look and see who was rough with everyone else around them, go look at some of the companions of the Holy Prophet, because it was not the Holy Prophet. It was not Amir al-Mu'mineen. It was not Imam Hassan. Do not make their sayings, or the companions, and some of those companions saying, do not make their sayings, their actions, your sunnah. No. Make the actions and the sayings of the Holy Prophet yours. This is what these ulama did. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When it comes to hypocrisy, a lot of people, they don't understand that even some forms of body language is hypocritical. Some form of body language. And Imam Khomeini, he talks about it in his Sharh Hadith. He specifically talks about, for example, winking, and I'll get to that. I know some winking. How's winking hypocrisy? Or one person knows someone, using secret language amongst each other to talk about someone else. The youngsters know exactly what I'm talking about. The youngsters know exactly what. The elders, maybe they know too, but the youngsters know exactly. Or, you're with a friend on both sides, and to this one, you're going like this with your eyes. He says that's a form of hypocrisy. That's a form of hypocrisy. And he says you have to be careful, be aware that you're doing this. Why? Because on the Day of Judgment, you'll be asked, why did you do this? Was that not also your mu'min? Was that not also a mu'min brother that was there? You look at the Quran, there's a whole chapter that was revealed, known as what? Surat al-Munafiqun. Surat al-Munafiqun. What is that surah regarding? Regarding these types of individuals, regarding this subject. Was that surah revealed for what? Was that surah revealed for something good for people, or was that surah revealed for something bad that existed in people? Something that evil that existed in people, a sin that existed in people. It was revealed so people understand that this isn't something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. But yet, one of the most prevalent sins that is being committed, munafiqat. Munafiq, hypocrisy. Even if you don't consider it to be a great sin, is it still not a sin? It's still a sin. And if you do a sin thinking that it's a small sin, that itself becomes a great sin. A great sin. And this exists everywhere. Mu'mineen, talking about other. Ghibat, inshallah, that's a topic of its own. Ghibat is a topic of its own. Because this ghibat, this hypocrisy, all of this, namima, all of this, it kind of goes together. But there's differences between all of them. But these are the vices that most of us are engaged in. Most of us are engaged in. And these are the vices that we need to look out for. Because 5 times a day, what do? We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 5 times a day, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If 5 times a day we're praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're in front of Him double-tongued. If we're in front of Him double-faced, do you think our namaz, our prayers is going to be accepted? No. No. If we're amongst the mu'mineen and we're double-faced to them, what's going to happen? What usually happens when we're double-faced? A big fight breaks out. Arguments break out. You said this to him. You said, he told me that he heard from this person, that he heard from that person, that he heard from that person. By that time, we've gone to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. So many people have come in between that we're at Hazrat Adam now. Instead of just going and asking the person directly, indirectly, we're coming from 10 different people, and this information is coming to me. This is one of the reasons. Imam Khomeini, he says, look, this is the difference between isma, a masoom, and a non-masoom. When it comes to isma, when it comes to a masoom, you can have 124,000 masumeen. What you say in the ear of the first one, by the time it comes to the ear of the last one, every single word will be exactly the same. Exactly the same. But when it comes to non-Masumin, just have 10 people. You say something in the ear of one, by the time it comes to the 10th, the whole story is changed. The whole story is changed. You have to remember that we're not Masumin. So when you're getting your information from someone who got their information from someone who got their information from someone who got their information from someone, the story has been changed. So it's your duty to go to that person and ask them, hey, did you say this? If it's a moment and the moment says, no, I did not say this, then it's his right, her right, that you accept their excuse and you believe in it and say, no, they did not say it. And end that conversation there. End it there. But what do people do? No, I heard from this person. You heard from that person. Now you're hearing from the person that he's claiming that he heard from. But we don't do this. And this is what the biggest problem is within the communities. Within the Shia communities. And please do not think I think that this is a problem. No, I don't know this. This is a problem within Shia Islam. Not just Shia Islam, everywhere you go. Does this not exist in Christianity? It exists in Christianity. Does this not exist in atheism? Yes, it exists in atheism. This is something that is within every type of human, regardless of their religion, regardless of their creed. Hypocrisy exists in every type of human. But why am I making a point to say it to you all? Why are we making a point to say it to us Shias? Because we believe in those individuals that were not double-tongued. We believe in those individuals that were not two-faced. We believe in those individuals that were not hypocrites. That's why it becomes more prevalent, or it becomes more important for us to take these characteristics and apply them to ourselves. If tomorrow we said Ya Ali for the last 3 days, yes or no? Yes. If tomorrow Imam Ali alayhi salam, you said Ya Ali for 3 days, but you didn't do anything I asked of you to do, what will you say? Nothing. What can you say in front of Amir al-Mu'mineen when he says this? Ya Ali, I said Ya Ali. Yes, you did. You did. But is this all that I wanted from you? No. I wanted you to say Ya Ali and also act and do what I did. I wanted both, not just one. Hadith al-Thaqalain, both. Both. The Ahlul Bayt and the Quran. Imam Ali and namaz. Imam Ali and dua. Imam Ali and Quran. Imam Ali and the Faruddin. Not just one and let go of the other. Either way, your marifat of Imam Ali is at this level, but when it comes to acting on that marifat, it's at the lowest level. What benefit is that? When it comes to acting, the Faruddin, you're all the way up here. But when it comes to the marifat of the Ahlul Bayt, you have no marifat at all? What good is that? It's no good at all. Both ways, because both are extremes. Both are extremes. The more ma'rifat you have of the Ahlul Bayt, the more ma'rifat, please listen to the words carefully. The more ma'rifat that you end up having of the Ahlul Bayt, the more you should be doing, or the more you should be acting when it comes to regarding the Faruddin. The more ma'rifat that you have of the Ahlul Bayt, the more you will be doing in regards to the Faruddin. The fact that people do not pay much attention to their Faruddin is why. It's because when it comes to their Usul ad-Din is weak somewhere. Usul ad-Din means what? The roots of the religion. Faruddin is what? Faruddin is the branches of the religion. The only reason the branches would be weak is if the roots are weak. The only reason the tree will be weak is if the roots are weak. If someone is not praying, it's because they have not understood something in usul ad-din. If someone is not fasting, it's because they have not understood something in usul ad-din. They have not understood. Understand usul ad-din. And usul ad-din is that part of religion where there's no taqleed. There's no taqleed. That's for you to understand yourself. Furu ad-din, that's where the taqleed is. But taqleed in what sense? Taqleed when it comes to acting out. When it comes to the furu ad-din, for example, salat. Not believing in salat. You do not do taqleed when it comes to believing in namaz. No. You do taqleed when it comes to the ahkam of namaz. You do not do taqleed when it comes to believing in siyam, roza. No, you do taqleed when it comes to the ahkam. If you don't even believe in namaz, if you don't even believe in roza, if you don't even believe in hajj, if you don't even believe in the concepts, please pick up the book of Tawzir Masail and see what the ulama define you as. It's not the concepts. No, it's the ahkam that you're doing the taqleed in, not the concepts. When it comes to usul ad-din, it's your duty to come to the conclusion of Tawheed, Adl, Nabuwat, Imamat, Qayamat yourself. And in these, there can be nifaq, hypocrisy. I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't act. I believe in Nabuwat, don't act. I believe in Imamat, don't act. I believe in Qayamat. You believe in Qayamat, but you don't do anything that shows me that you believe in Qayamat. You're living your life the same way that any of these people that live their life who don't even believe in an afterlife. So, brothers, sisters, one of the ways that Imam Khomeini, he says to deal with this is, first and foremost, when it comes to this self, you need to first realize that you have this problem. First realize that you have this problem and address it internally. Then when it comes to actions, as soon as you see that you're doing this, not only do you need to apologize to the person, but you need to apologize to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yourself first, and then the community. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins, to forgive the sins of all the mu'mineen, mu'minat that are gathered here tonight. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of all of those marhumin, mu'mineen, mu'minat that do not have anyone to ask for forgiveness on their behalf. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the real prince of Imam Zaman. Let us, our families, and anyone that's willing to sacrifice their life for him and his cause be able to sacrifice their life for him and his cause. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Again, please recite Surah Fatiha for your marhumin and for the marhumin of those that provided tonight's iftar.
Inshallah, starting tomorrow, Qibla's lecture is going to start at 6:45. Tomorrow, inshallah, starting lecture 6:45. और हमारे शब क़दर इंशाल्लाह आज रात को शुरू हो जाएंगे 8:45 पर. तमाम मोमिन से शिरकत दरख्वास्त है. इंशाल्लाह हमारे शब क़दर ठीक 8:45 पर शुरू हो जाएंगे. शुक्रिया.